You send a quick text to a friend. Hours pass, no reply. Suddenly, you are pacing your room, replaying your last interaction, and inventing a full-blown argument in your head with someone who isn't even there. Even though none of this actually happened, your body reacts exactly as if it did. Your heart rate spikes, your chest tightens, and your nervous system floods with stress hormones. It is easy to blame yourself for this kind of overthinking, but this spiral is not a personality defect. It is a highly specific biological program that kicks in the second your mind goes idle. On this 3D brain model, we can map exactly where this happens, a system called the default mode network. When you stop paying attention to the outside world, specific regions, the medial prefrontal cortex, posterior cingulate cortex, and angular gyrus, light up. Your brain does not power down when you rest. Instead, it shifts into a highly active state, dedicated entirely to building internal narratives. For decades, early neurologists assumed the human brain operated exactly like a muscle. They thought it only expended energy when you were actively focusing on an external task, and went completely dormant when you relaxed. That assumption held until 1929, when Hans Berger invented the EEG. By attaching electrodes to a patient's head, he discovered that electrical oscillations never stop, even when a subject sits quietly and does absolutely nothing. Our internal monologues exist because the brain is metabolically forced to stay busy. When there is no external problem to solve, it immediately searches for one internally. To understand why this internal search always leads to stress, we have to look at the brain's primary job, keeping you alive. It functions as an ancient simulation machine, constantly attempting to predict future threats. Thousands of years ago, early humans survived by mentally rehearsing physical dangers. If the brain could simulate a predator hiding in the brush, it could prepare a reaction before the threat ever appeared. We no longer spend our days scanning the forest for predators, but we carry that exact same hardware. Today, the brain maps that threat detection system onto social interactions, treating a delayed text message or an ambiguous glance with the same urgency as a physical attack. This is driven by the negativity bias, an evolutionary imperative where ignoring a positive event was harmless, but missing a negative one was fatal. Because of this, our biology defaults to focusing on the worst-case scenario. Those fake arguments in the shower are simply your primal survival software misfiring. Your brain is trying to keep you safe in a complex social world, using tools designed for the wilderness. Humans have a deep intolerance for uncertainty. When we do not know what will happen, the brain uses these negative simulations to aggressively manufacture a feeling of control. This diagram illustrates what psychologists call the overthinking loop. A single unpredictable situation fractures into multiple hypothetical responses. Your mind attempts to prepare for every possible outcome, rapidly multiplying into hundreds of mental dead ends. The physical toll of this process is severe. Your nervous system struggles to distinguish between a simulated argument and a real trauma, releasing stress hormones for both. You end up profoundly exhausted without ever leaving your chair. At the extreme end of this spectrum is a condition called maladaptive daydreaming. Here, compulsive fantasy entirely replaces real human interaction, significantly impairing a person's ability to navigate daily life. When these thought loops calcify, they frequently overlap with clinical conditions like generalized anxiety or obsessive-compulsive disorder. The individual becomes entirely trapped by their own protective mechanisms. Attempting to cure uncertainty by inventing endless disaster scenarios does not prepare you for the future. It simply strips away your energy in the present. Because this loop mirrors clinical anxiety, we can dismantle it using techniques from exposure and response prevention therapy, a psychological treatment designed to break compulsive behavioral cycles. The first step is reality testing. The moment you catch yourself drafting a mental defense for an argument that hasn't happened, pause and ask yourself, is this actually occurring right now? Next, apply environmental grounding. By physically engaging with your immediate surroundings, like gripping a textured surface, you intentionally interrupt the simulation. Exiting the trap requires moving neural activity away from the default mode network and forcing it into the brain's task-positive networks. You have to give the mind an immediate, tangible job to do. Fortunately, an overactive default mode network is also a strong biological marker for high creativity and advanced problem-solving skills. When managed correctly, this state shifts into what researchers call positive constructive daydreaming. Instead of looping through anxiety, the mind engages in productive planning, empathy, and curious imagery. This cyclical flowchart shows how to actively hijack your own hardware. By recognizing idle time, you can consciously route that cognitive energy toward goal visualization and social connection, rather than fret rehearsal. This is the exact method professional athletes, writers, and creators use. They run mental simulations to innovate and practice complex tasks safely before ever stepping onto a field or a stage. Your mind is a brilliant simulation machine. True mental freedom comes from training it to imagine possibilities instead of problems that do not actually exist.